Everybody, MadOCfm Gaming here. So today I wanted to have a look at a 6 red high damage AR build utilising InSync and Spotter. So this build isn't too dissimilar to the original Spotter video that I uploaded quite a while ago now, and since then Spotter's really become the meta alongside Lady D. This version has 4 blues with pretty much everything else very similar at least. And this is designed to be a frontline damage dealer. But what I wanted to have a look at was the reasons why people are starting to run a 6 red version. One of my lieutenants, MadOCfm, runs pretty much the same build, and I kind of copied him after just watching him play it for a week with our clan and just destroying with it basically. And I do think that this absolutely has a place in the meta, particularly if you've got some tanks and some Lady D users that are running up front and essentially drawing people out of cover. You can just sit back and melt people down. And this is essentially the backline damage dealer version of my original 4 armor spotter build, and it works phenomenally well. So yes, you're definitely seeing a lot more of this in conflict now with either glass cannon or spotter, an optimist or InSync, just because it is very potent when used correctly. What we'll do is we'll quickly go through the build. I will link a description of my original spotter build in the description, so you can have a look at that if you want to use that version if you prefer to be more upfront. And I'll also link the conflict gameplay timestamp as well, as I do with all my videos, if you'd rather just cut straight to that. So we're running Technician because we need to use the linked laser underbarrel with Spotter. So with this, there's 2 good things about Technician. One, of course, is the underbarrel attachment. It's the best in the game and very unique. And 2 is the extra skill tier that we need to, or at least it helps our skills to keep InSync active. With your weapon, you can use any one that you want. You want to use an AR for this and not an SMG because you can't afford to be too frontline. But it needs to have the long underbarrel rail, as you can see just above the orange box there, so that you can attach this linked laser pointer. My personal preference is the FAL. You can probably see that I'm already running 2. In my opinion, this is the best AR in the game for this build. Certainly the best AR with a long underbarrel attachment, but you could use something like a Police M4 if you prefer, as that's also a very good choice. You want to roll high assault rifle damage and high damage to targets out of cover. Health damage is actually kind of irrelevant with this build. You know, I know obviously health damage helps when they're outside of their armor, but you're going to kill them then anyway. So if you've got a really low health damage roll, I'll give you a good example. One of my favourite weapons is this one. This thing slaps and it's got hardly any health damage. You really don't need it in conflict, I can promise you that. Just focus on assault rifle damage and damage to targets out of cover and you'll be fine. Get that linked laser underbarrel attached to it. You want to be running InSync because when you activate or do skill damage, so when you activate a skill or apply skill damage and fire at an enemy at the same time, you get 30% weapon damage and skill damage because they double up when they're combined. So really easy to proc. You just use your shield, whip your shield out, empty your mag, drop your shield whilst you're reloading so you can easily get into cover, come back out of cover whilst redeploying your shield, therefore reprocking InSync. You just got 30% extra damage all of the time. It's really easy. The other skill that you want to use is, I think the top choice is the Striker Drone for 2 reasons. One, it applies continuous skill damage, which means InSync is already procced without your shield, so it's just one more way of keeping your damage high if your shield is broken or you're in a situation where you can't really afford to peak with a shield. You need to be a bit more tight to the corner. And 2, it's a great way to highlight enemies that you wouldn't see otherwise, as whatever button it is assigned to, on my case on Xbox it's right bumper, you see that little right bumper orange symbol floating above their head before you see their character a lot of the time, so it's a really good way to see enemies before you normally would. I decided to run mine as a high crit chance, high crit damage headshot version. Some people run it with damage to armor. I know Mads, who I originally was inspired to make this build, he runs it very similar to this. You know, I've kind of just copied him really. So every piece needs to be rolled as high as possible on the 3 attributes you see before you: weapon damage, critical hit chance. We're not looking at any blues here, we're not looking at anything else, just pure crit chance, crit damage. That's why Providence is so strong for this build, and I think it's better than running walkers and contractors, because damage to armor isn't as good as damage to targets out of cover. I'd rather just have the high base damage and then all the crit on top of that. So 3 pieces of Providence, 15% headshot damage, which is amazing. The reason the FAL is so good is it's an absolute laser, and unlike the Police M4, it has hardly any recoil or bloom. So yeah, you'll melt faces with this build. We've then got the crit chance and crit damage from the 2 and 3 piece. The second piece of Providence is my holster. As you can see, it's rolled exactly the same. So these are the 3 stats that you want to be going for. Backpack has headshot damage instead of critical hit damage. I'm totally fine with that. It still works really well. I don't feel the need to farm for another one. If I get a really good gift, which I never seem to get one, I will swap it out, of course. But Vigilance is 100% your top choice here, followed probably by Companion. But as this is a backline damage dealer, Two reasons Vigilance is better for that. One, you are less likely to take damage, and two, if your backline, Companion's not going to be proccing, and they're really the only two choices for this build. Maybe Concussion, that's also a great choice, but I just think Vigilance is 25% additive damage. It's active all of the time unless you yourself take damage, and if you play the build well, yes, it's less effective in solo play because you have no idea what the hell everyone's doing, but in clan play, Vigilance is top tier if you're a backline damage dealer. The chest is a Fenris because it gives us 10% additive damage to assault rifles, which is what we're using. And as you can see, the three attributes are exactly the same. We've got Spotter here because this gives us a multiplicative damage buff, so that's better than additive, of weapon and skill damage by 15% to pulsed enemies. And of course, we are pulsing them via the linked laser underbarrel. So this is really good. It's better than glass cannon in my opinion. Yes, it's less damage, but it's a hell of a lot safer. I do even see people running this build with glass cannon though, and that can be very effective. So yeah, we've got the 3 Providence and the 1 Fenris. They're the most important parts. The other 2 are quite flexible. You could put double walk here if you want the extra weapon damage and armor damage, but in my opinion the best way you can do it is with Grupo, because you get more critical hit damage, and as you can see, this 3 attributes are the same. And then Fox's Prayer. Of all the damage testing I've done, Fox's Prayer always comes out on top with any DPS build for PvP or PvE, because damage to targets out of cover is just active more of the time compared to damage to armor, and it is a higher stat to roll on a weapon, so it's again more damage. It works against enemy shields, which damage to armor does not, and it works against enemy health, which damage to armor does not. So it's just a better stat that's active for the majority of the time. You can switch some of these pieces out, but I definitely think the Fenris and the 3 Provi are a must. And if you've got some good Foxes, stick them on. If not, they're only about 5% better than any other piece here. So if your build isn't quite as optimized as mine, maybe replace these with the Seska to get the extra 10% crit chance. Ultimately, I appreciate that I play the game a lot. My watch level is high, and my clanmates drop me a lot of gear, so my stuff is very well rolled. But don't worry if you can't get it to this level. You just want to get your crit chance as high as humanly possible, and then your crit damage needs to follow after that. My crit chance is at 59.1%. My crit damage is at 166%, so very high for an AR build. You can usually get them to cap out at around about 175, 180. It's hard to push past that without like coyotes and so on. I don't like coyotes on this build. I just want to be at 60% for as much as possible. So that would kind of be my choice to run it how I've run it. But yeah, I appreciate people don't get the best rolls, so just stick a Seska in there. It's always good to get your crit chance from Seska first if you can't make it, and then just make your build around that with the Providence and the Fenris, and then maybe the Grupo or Coyotes or something. Actually, I'll quickly show you my damage stats right at my weapon stats right at the start of this game, and then we'll go in. So 2 ways you can play this build. The main way is the backline damage dealer. Let your teammates draw the enemy out and just laser them down. The other way, and I wouldn't recommend this solo play, but if you're with a very good team and the opposition just aren't as good, you can play it as a flanker. It's very, very effective. It's very, very effective. I don't know where that came from. Just flanking, because you've got such high pure damage. If you've got 3 of your teammates all pushing one main choke and the whole of the enemy team at the other side of that choke and distracted, you can get around them, cool when you're ready to push. Your other guys will take all the heat. You'll then just come in and gun everybody down from the back whilst your teammates start pushing in. So it's quite an effective little pincer movement. This build is really strong for that. Damage stats, just to quickly show them before we start: 59.1, 165.9, 99.5. So very high. But as I said before, don't worry if you can't get them that high. So we're going to have the drone out here just because it allows us to see enemies before we can naturally see them. I always like to make a middle push to start with to see where they're going. It must be close because we're detecting all of their stuff. There they are, right side. Oh, one of our guys has got on their roof, nice. How is he still alive? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set my drone on his drone. I'm actually going to make that push now. So the good thing as well, you see the target line, you can kind of see where he's gone. The problem here is I'm not too sure where their team is, so I've got to be really careful here. Where is everyone? On the roof? Yes, they are. Wow, Maxi was absolutely honking there.
Rogue defender drone detected.
Okay, I've got somebody coming up here, and I've got to be real careful here. I'm actually going to push back.
Rogue restorer hive detected.
These guys are playing very passively indeed. Do I dare make the push? That's the real question. I should have had my shield out there. I thought my teammate and me were going to be able to gun him down, but he just focused me and ignored the tank. That's annoying. I should have just got my shield out there, but then he would have been able to see my head anyway. It's always a dangerous push. Somebody sitting up top. Annoyingly, we're up against an incredibly campy team, which I don't like that play style. I think it just makes the experience worse for everybody involved. But you know, at the end of the day, I'm not here to tell people how to play Conflict. So that was one clip there, and I was able to kill 2 guys. So again, and they took down half of my armor. So, you know, that just shows how effective this build is. That was literally one clip, one mag, should I say?
The boost has been taken by allies.
We've already got a guy on their roof. That's good. So. Can't use my shield because it's been broken. Let's pop a quick MadOCfm. The other annoying thing about drones is, I don't know if this is true for PC users, but they really mess with your aim assist. You probably noticed that my aim was constantly being pulled upwards. Not today, buddy. See that? I got pulled up there. I don't know if anybody noticed that. It just pulls you up all the time, and I hate it.
You're too strong for them.
Oh, that guy got absolutely lasered down. And him. So I'm not even using in sync here because my drone isn't attacking anybody. Unfortunately, I don't have any medkits left now, so. 2 kills with 1 clip again. No health, but I'm going to risk it anyway. Still not getting instinct procced. Oh, actually, I probably could get it on this here. Might be able to attack it from here. Yes, it is. Right now, I've got instinct procced, so this should be a lot better. Oh, look at that. Went right through his tardigrade. Oh!
No one's retreating. The fight continues. There are no overwhelming. Eliminate whoever's left.
So you see how stable the fallows? This is what I'm saying. It is top tier. Honestly, it's such a good weapon. Redeploy shields and reload. Look at that. Insta-killed that guy. I'm going to leave my drone on. Actually, I'm going to kill it because they can do a lot of damage if left unchecked.
Supply drop being claimed by friendly. The specialization supply drop has been claimed by an ally.
Oh, melts them in like a couple of bullets. It's crazy. If he pulls that res, I'm going in. Nice. So, yeah, it kind of sucked that we got them spawn trap there. I didn't enjoy the first half of that game because it was very passive and that's not my play style, so I didn't get a chance to really show how the build works. But hopefully just some of those kills there demonstrated how quickly you can melt somebody with a well-rolled foul, high crit chance damage on a 6 red build. And because you kill so quickly, you don't take a huge amount of damage unless you're caught off guard. So positioning and awareness of your team and the enemy team are most important here. Once you get that down and you sort of, you know roughly where everybody is, which because you're pulsing all the time, you probably will anyway, and you don't just get right in their face in this, you know, in a stupid situation, you're going to be fine. But there was 2 separate occasions there where I killed 2 people with a single clip. So if you do get pushed, it even has the ability to clutch the kills and as a result keep you alive. And because of that, I finished that on 13 kills and 1 death with 35 million damage. Yes, a lot of that was probably shield damage, so I tend not to look at damage stats too much, but that's pretty typical of this build. Because it hits so hard, in a way it's almost like offense is the best defense. You're killing people so fast that they don't have a chance to shoot you, and then you don't even need the armor in the first place. So try the build out, play it with your team if you tend to group up quite a lot, sit a little bit further back than everybody else, make sure you're pulsing and try and get your teammates to draw the enemy out, and I promise you'll have a solid game. Thank you very much for watching through to the end and for the continued support of the channel, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!